Welcome to our continuing coverage of Local Decision 2019. I'm North Metro TV's Rusty Ray, and we're talking about the race for Circle Pines City Council, and we're joined right now by Steve McChesney, who is running unopposed for a seat that is opening up. Is that right?
That's correct.
Tell me about that. It's a chance for you to run because somebody's stepping...
Yeah, so Mike Schwagerty is a current city councilman. He's a former firefighter. He's done a great job for the city, but he's made the decision not to run. It's a great city. I really enjoy the leadership of Circle Pines, and I thought that I'd have an opportunity to fill those shoes and continue with the great work he's done.
And you're no stranger to City Hall. That's the other thing we really want to point out is you've been involved with city politics, not really the word I'm saying here, management, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, so I've been on the Circle Pines Planning Commission for about 10 years. It'll be 10 years in 2020. I've also been an election judge for the last 11 years, although that won't be something I'll do this year, being on the ballot.
Right.
I was a Circle Pines representative on the Anoka Blaine Airport Advisory Commission as well for a couple of years. But yeah, I've been on the Planning Commission for about 10 years and had an opportunity to learn about the city and lend my voice where I can to its progress.
So knowing that, having that experience, also obviously being a resident for what you say, 11 years?
11 years, yes, sir.
What do you see are the biggest opportunities? Let's start with opportunities facing the city and city council specifically.
Sure, yeah, I mean, again, I want to reiterate, it was great city leadership. The local leaders do a really nice job. I think the biggest thing, I live on the north side of Circle Pines, more residents that are on, fixed budgets, seniors, things like that. So I do think that, well, there's a lot of upside to the property values going up. It has resulted in some higher property taxes. I think as a member of the city council, I want to make sure I'm lending a voice to make sure we're balancing, keeping the high levels of service that we have, the great amenities that the city has to offer, while still, making sure we control those tax rates, especially for our residents that have, again, kind of those lower budgets or fixed budgets.
Thinking about other suburbs, other communities in the Twin Cities, you think about sometimes geography can be a limiting factor. You get cities all around, or maybe at least on one side of the county, but in your case, there's cities all around, some of them similar size, some of them larger. You have different sized businesses, school districts. Are there opportunities that are challenges maybe now that you see as opportunities that the city can build on or maybe do something that's different that can improve things?
Well, the city's pretty well developed. Like you said, there's a lot of larger communities around us. Cities like Blaine and Lino Lakes continue to expand at a large rate. It's putting stress on Circle Pines roads, on our natural resources. School district enrollment is going up, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but we want to make sure that the impacts that these larger communities have around us, that we build good relationships, whether it's with the county or those cities, to make sure that Circle Pines isn't negatively affected by the increase in population or increased traffic resulting from some of these communities expanding. So I do think that a big part of it is just learning the processes and building those relationships so that we can figure out how to mitigate some of those issues that could come up with increased traffic and things like that.
And thinking about that, there may be some answers you can't give to people if they come up to you knowing that you're already involved and now knowing that you're going to be on city council, say, this is what we're concerned about. Are people telling you things specifically in the city that they're looking at or that they want more action on? Are you hearing things?
Generally, people like the city. They like the services, police, fire, do a really great job for us. I think the biggest thing, it kind of comes back to the taxes, road reconstruction. So my street happens to be part of Circle Pines planning for road reconstruction. So a lot of my most immediate neighbors, have some concerns about how that'll affect them, how that's going to raise their taxes and things like that. So I think it's just about kind of talking through the, why those things are important, and then again, working with the council and the city leadership to make sure that, again, if we can provide some relief or a little better understanding of those residents on, why this is good for them. But that's the main thing is people, we want to make sure that, if their taxes are increasing or if they're already paying a higher rate, that they're getting a great return for, what they're paying. So I think that's the biggest concern. Public safety, speeding, and some of those little things that come up that are important to people. A lot of kids in the neighborhood, so I think the police department does a great job. We've got to just make sure we're proactive with communicating those issues as we get them from residents. But I think most of it's just around taxes and more about maintaining, the great levels of service that we get already in the city and not taking a step backwards.
In my experience in covering stories here for North Metro and then also living in that area of the county, I know that there's different areas. It's a small city and it's not a huge population, but there's distinct areas, right? There's the area that borders the school, the Centennial High School property. There's also the folks at Golden Lake. They're very, very active. They're very vocal about what they want for their neighborhood.
Sure.
And then you maybe have some people who live in not single family homes that maybe are commuters and things like that. It sounds like from what you're telling me and what I see that the city does a good job with these groups all working together and looking forward together. Is that something that you think will continue pretty nicely?
I do. I think that while most of our council members, do live, over on the Golden Lake side, I think they've done a nice job with city planning to make sure that, parks aren't just getting done on one side of the road, that they're getting done on the other. I think they do a nice job taking into account the needs of all of our residents. I plan to continue to do those same things. And I think living on the north side of Circle Pines, as if elected, I'd be the only member on the north side of Circle Pines. I think that's a voice I can help lend to my neighbors and the people that live closest to me.
What kind of road projects can you guys most directly impact? Because you've got all these shared roads, of course, the state, the federal, even highways, with the 35W going through there, but then you got Lake, which is a county road, and then you've got Lexington. And so you guys can't directly control that at City Hall. I'm sure people may try to bring that to you and say, hey, we don't have anything we can do with that. But there are other projects, there are other construction efforts that you can impact. Are you hearing about anything specific neighborhood-wise?
It's just mostly local. These road reconstruction ends up, tearing into people's yards and things like that. So, it's mostly just those local roads. As far as those shared roads, County Road J and Lake and Lexington, you mentioned. Again, I think it's about those relationships and how do we work with county officials. And I don't want to pass myself off as an expert. Those are things I need to learn. But I do know that we have a vocal city council and a great leadership team at the city, and as we run into those issues, I know that anything that can be done will be done, and I'll be a part of that.
What about working with Anoka County? It's got a county board that's changing. There's a new member, and then there's going to be another new member coming soon. Do you see the city already working closely with Anoka County leaders in a regional basis to try to do these things we're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that the candidates for county commissioner were out at the city council meeting last week, so I read a little bit about that. I know that they're already trying to build some relationships with the city, so I anticipate that the relationships that have occurred will continue. And again, the city has a great relationship with the county and state officials in our neighboring cities, so I'm certain that will continue, and that Circle Pines will, we'll take care of what we need to for our residents.
Let's look forward. Where do you see, you've been there 10 plus years as a resident and then also involved in varying degrees and will be involved more now. Where do you see 20 years down the line, Circle Pines? How do you think it will change? How do you think it will improve in your mind?
So, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that, the status quo is, we have great services in the city. I think that continuing to upgrade parks and maintain our roads well. So I see a lot of what's going on now, which is going well, continuing. I think demographics will continue to change a little bit, and that's a good thing. We just need to make sure that we understand the needs of different residents of different backgrounds as they move into the city. Just in my last 11 years, I've seen a lot of recycling of the neighborhood where you have older residents who have maybe moved on to senior living or with family, and then young families come in. So I think continuing to meet the needs of an increasing student, more young people coming in. And but as far as where I see the city in 20 years, I think it's going to be, if we're doing our job well, you're going to see the same level of great service that we're seeing now. Some small changes to aesthetics, but for the most part, I think that this is a great city. And if 20 years from now this is still as great a city as it is today, then I feel like it will have contributed well.
All right. Steve, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Good luck with everything. Running for Circle Pines City Council, at this point running unopposed. Should take your seat there in the new year, I suppose.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.